The online English 1101 class this fall has just been a nightmare. And it's not the student's fault. It's, mine as the instructor, because one of the things that I primarily focused on in the course was, the creation of particular rhetorical genres, how to do things like write reviews, write commentaries. But I never really set up a good buffet of which students can come to and consume these different types of genres. And when you talk about genre, it's not just writing that's important. Video is really important. Audio material can work really well. Podcasts. You want students to have a diet of new media. You want them to be able to connect to stories in a meaningful way. The only way to do that is to vary it up between consuming writing and consuming various portions of new culture. Well, so my solution to this problem has been to try to put together a buffet of different sources where students can go and get stimulation, where they can see conversations happening, as they happen. And my big inspiration for this came from two sources. I wanted to link to a whole bunch of different outlets and sources. And this is my solution to the kind of drollness that occurred in 1101 this semester. So my idea was, hey, let's get a bunch of new media sources. Let's get stuff like the Young Turks and the Kyle Kalinske show, Secular Talk, which, me personally, I absolutely love those media outlets. I connect with them really well. I've been a very close follower of the Young Turks pretty much ever since they've existed. I've always appreciated their commentary. The problem with including the Young Turks in an academic course is that if you link to the Young Turks and you offer up the Young Turks as material to be debated, you instantly have a little bit of bias. And this is not in any way critical of the Young Turks or Kyle Kalinske. I mean, their media is what it is, and that's fine. And it's very easy for me to set up the Young Turks and Secular Talk as, they're not perfect. You don't have to adopt these sources as, truth. You can analyze them. You can fight with Cenk Uygur. You can fight with Anna Kasparian. You can fight with Kyle Kalinske. You can disagree with them. You can attack them. You don't have to appropriate those sources as your voice. That's part of what makes 1101 so interesting, is we want to encourage critical voices, right? So just because I'm centering a lot of research around these shows doesn't mean that I'm agreeing with them de facto. The problem is, I wanted to have a conservative voice with a similar type of energy, with a similar type of organization that's, transmitting itself through new media as opposed to old media tropes. There is not much available on the conservative side. And, the Young Turks are not, classic tax and spend diehard liberals. They come in it from a little bit more of a centrist point of view. They're critical of Obama of a lot of things. They're not just de facto support Obama on everything, which I kind of like. But you just don't see an equivalent on the conservative end. You don't see Kyle Kalinski's for evangelical conservative views. They're just not out there. And if they are, they don't have a lot of power. If you're looking for good conservative commentary, you have to go with Gingrich on Crossfire. You have to go with Limbaugh with his radio show. You have to go with, those guys. And I'm not meaning to be critical of those media outlets. I'm not meaning to be critical of what they do. What I'm essentially trying to say is they're not new media. They're traditional media tropes. And in order to access those different styles of media, or to access Limbaugh, access Huckabee, you have to go through the traditional media outlet of Fox News. You have to have that kind of packaging of the content around the media outlet. It's not just raw YouTube. It's not this kind of independent energy that you get with the Young Turks. Wow, that's a problem. Holy moly, that's a problem. And the Young Turks seem to be incredibly popular. And from my perspective, and I'm hoping that some of the people out there in YouTube land will challenge this, the Young Turks are shaping a lot of the conversation. They are just, they're very dominant in the new media scape. Because when I try to find the equivalent on the conservative side, I'm actually having a lot of trouble with that. I mean, I've looked really hard, and I just can't find anything similar. So, from this point, I want to make two claims. And again, please attack me in the comments. Tell me I'm stupid. That's fine. Happy to hear it. One, it makes it extremely difficult to set up a kind of media buffet that indulges new media but doesn't seem biased. Even if I, say, yes, sling mud at these guys as much as you want, it still comes off that I'm setting up a liberal echo chamber, especially when the media that I bring in from the conservative side is all traditional media and is not as accessible, is not as cool as what you get from the Young Turks and Kyle Kulinski and David Pakman, these guys that, have really shaped a network, a professional network of commentary. It just seems fundamentally unfair. So, should I not link to the Young Turks? Should I not set up a filter that tries to, strike up that balance? Is it not fair? Am I being, biased? I do lean left, but I'm also very sympathetic to the conservative voice, especially more centrist voices. And you guys obviously know that I really like Stefan Molyneux. And Molyneux is, Molyneux's not a traditional conservative, though. He's definitely a new media trope. But to label Molyneux as a conservative when he's such a firebrand atheist still tinges the entire conversation toward a kind of left-wing, trope. It's not that traditional GOP style conversation. So, is fairness even possible? Now, the last point I want to make is this, and this is the one that's probably really going to make you guys angry, but if the Young Turks and that network continue to dominate the political discussion, if they continue to be such a powerhouse steamroller force on YouTube, that's a huge problem for conservative voices in America. I'm a liberal, but I really value a strong conservative force. You need to have that to counterbalance and to, mediate between the more liberal side of the conversation. But, man, the Young Turks are powerful. They're just absolutely dominating a mediascape for people like me, consumers of news and commentary. They're on the front line, and there's no one there opposing them. There's no one there to challenge them, not in a hateful or derogatory way. There is no Cenk Uygur on the conservative end. There is no Kyle Kulinski on the conservative end. That kind of unchained, informal, very millennial, very accessible style of commentary. They're just not out there. So, what does that mean for conservative voices? What's going to happen when there's no Limbaugh? Limbaugh is not old, but at the same time, he's being relegated to a very partitioned portion of the media where it's not about access, it's about lack of access. You must consume Limbaugh's content from the radio. Otherwise, if you look up Rush Limbaugh clips on YouTube, you get right-wing watch. You get the Young Turks tearing him apart. You get him in the context of criticism, not just on his own. Man, that's not good. They are totally losing the new media war. So, a lot of this is coming from my own personal echo chamber. If there are good conservative new media voices out there, let me know. Put it in the comments, because I'd be happy to include it in the course, information buffet. But man, how disconcerting.